Graham and Travis with Home Ladder here. We're out at a house in Gilbert. Resident just vacated this after living here for 7 years, so here to complete the move-out inspection, see what needs to happen to get it ready for the next resident. Travis, we're here in the front yard. Anything you notice off the bat?
I think first off, just it's a nice home in Gilbert, nice suburban area. As we pulled up though, we noticed the dead grass in the front yard. So obviously it's the middle of summer, you got to keep the water going if you want the grass to be green, so we should check the irrigation timers, make sure that the water is going. The other thing we noticed right away is the giant palm tree in the front yard. It needs to be pruned back a little bit. So it's important for landlords to understand, like, you can have tenants responsible for the grass, but the trees are generally going to be on the landlord. You just don't want tenants climbing up on ladders, dealing with this and the liability with that.
Yep.
But other than that, it looks pretty good. The paint's in decent condition. I think we'll notice in the backyard maybe some fascia issues, but up front, it's looking pretty good. So let's take a look. All right, so we're in the home now. What do you like to do first?
Very first thing I like to do is just walk through the home and open up all the blinds and turn on all the lights. That way we can really see what we're working with to get an overall impression of the home. So the main two things you're looking at when you come into the home are the paint and the flooring. Those are the things that are going to sell the home. And the average life expectancy, it can vary from manufacturer to manufacturer, but about 5 years is the life expectancy of your paint and carpet. So at this point, we've turned on all the lights, we've opened up the blinds, making sure those are functioning. The first impression of the paint here, it looks okay. So we could get away with it as is. Honestly, it's really outdated. It's a dark color. It doesn't show very well. I would recommend that we go ahead and paint this. Generally recommend an agreeable gray. It's a really light, bright color, it shows really well. I'd also recommend replacing the flooring. As you can see, there's just a lot of spots where the carpet has been bunched up. There's quite a few stains throughout the home. So transitioning to something like an LVP is the way to go. Very durable, looks great, shows great, and you get a lot of life out of it. All right, Janice, we made it into the kitchen. This is always the #1 selling feature of a home. So what are you looking for in here?
Well, to me, this looks like a mid-90s kitchen, right? It's got the Formica countertops, it's got the old school oak cabinets, it's got white appliances. Like, you just don't see this nowadays. So this is I mean, we could certainly rent it as is with this layout and setup, but it's also an opportunity for improvement if we wanted to renovate this and really do a value add type of project here. But to look at the kitchen for an inspection, the details matter in the kitchen. So we like to open every single drawer, make sure that there's no cleaning requirements, make sure that the drawers and cabinets function. You want to look inside of every single appliance. Like, for example, this is an older dishwasher. It's got some rusted racks in it. The Formica countertops are actually in pretty good condition. We could get away with these for sure. The sink itself, it's an old porcelain sink, which I do not recommend for rentals, and it's seen better days. So we'd probably recommend replacement on this, and stainless steel is the way to go. We test all of the fixtures to make sure they're working, including the garbage disposal. It's a key feature. When you're running the water, you want to look under this sink, and you want to make sure that there's no active leaks under there. So no drips. It looks like a little bit of warping underneath, so at some point there was some water dripping down there, but not today. As we continue through the kitchen, we'll keep opening the drawers, check everything out. You know, that's the first call you'll get from a tenant when they move in if the kitchen's not working correctly. Again, with the appliances, this looks like a newer microwave, actually. This has been replaced fairly recently. It's in really good shape. So not only with the appliances, you want to check for cleanliness, but you should also check for functionality. So with a stove and oven, just make sure it's turning on. Don't test it with your hands, but I mean, you could. So that's super important. The other major appliance in a kitchen is the refrigerator. So Brandon, there's no refrigerator here. Like, should landlords provide refrigerators?
It's a topic of debate. This question comes up quite a bit when you're talking to new landlords. So the question is, it could go either way. I would say most rentals nowadays do have a fridge provided. We used to see a lot less of that happening, but most of the time now, tenants don't have their own fridge to bring into a property, and it's a big expense. A couple $1,000s if you're getting a pretty nice fridge. So I would generally recommend that a landlord do provide the fridge to make it easier to rent the home. Otherwise, you probably see your days on market go up. But if you are going to install a fridge, think basic. You don't need a super fancy fridge. You want something to get the job done. Even if you go without an ice maker, that's great. That's something that is going to fail pretty routinely and be a maintenance cost. So yeah, provide a fridge, but keep it basic.
Definitely agree. The other thing I want to point out to people is this valve down here for the refrigerator. This is actually the #1 source of home floods. So you want to make sure that the valve is in good condition there, no corrosion. So that one looks good. So we should be good. All right, now we're in the master bath. What do you like to look for in bathrooms?
Well, bathrooms are the #2 selling feature behind kitchen. So really want to make sure everything's functional and obviously a cosmetic test here. So first thing I'm looking at in this shower here is the caulking in the wet areas. You can see that there's some discoloration, some black marks throughout the caulking, so I would definitely recommend just scraping that out, replacing it with some fresh caulking. That'll make it look really nice. You also, of course, want to turn on the shower, make sure it's functioning properly, that the mix-it valve is working, your shower head's functioning properly, and just getting overall feel of how it looks. We also obviously want to move over here to the sinks, turn on the water, make sure that both sides are working. And then begin as we did in the kitchen, checking underneath to make sure there's no leaks under here. Everything looks good. You also want to check your stoppers to make sure that they are functioning properly. As we can see here, we've got a stopper not functioning properly, so we should probably go ahead and get that fixed. Finally, I'm noticing a ton of outdated fixtures in here. So basically, everything is gold light fixtures, towel bar holders. We got gold in the shower. The faucets themselves are gold, so they could use a facelift. Again, one of those things we could rent it as is, but it could use an update to add some value to the property. Last thing we want to do, this is a private toilet ring. We'd want to check out that toilet and make sure it's functioning properly. Anything you're seeing in there, Travis?
Well, I don't know. I prefer a man-sized toilet. This is pretty small. I don't know that I would fit on this thing. So, I mean, that's always a good improvement. You can put one of the elongated toilets in. This room definitely has space for it. The other thing I'm noticing right away is the valve. It's corroded. So while you have it vacant, you should change out that valve. It's a super simple, cheap fix, and it'll prevent a future flood.
All right, Travis, we made it out here to the garage. One of the biggest questions we get from landlords is, should I leave all of my extra paint supplies behind? What do you think?
Definitely not. This paint is never going to match what you have in there. This paint is, look at the dates on it. It's 9 years old and it's been sitting in a garage. So one, if it's even still liquid, it's a different color than what's going to be in on the walls. So definitely throw this stuff away. Dispose of it properly, obviously, but this just takes up space, tenants aren't going to use it, and it's...
I couldn't agree more. The other big ticket item we're looking at in the garage is the water heater. What are we looking for here?
Well, water heaters, so they last on average between 10 and 15 years if you're taking care of them. So first you want to check the age of the water heater. So it's always on here. This one is a 2010 water heater, so this is actually right at the end of its useful life. You want to check for evidence of current leaks. It doesn't look like there's any current leaks. So that's
what does a leak look like?
You'd see rust and you'd see water and you'd see calcium deposits on the floor. The other thing I'm noticing right away is if you were to install a new water heater today, you want to make sure that you have a drip pan in there. That's just code.
Yep.
And then the other thing to take notice of, is it electric or is it gas? If it's a gas water heater, it's going to have a chimney on it for your exhaust fumes. This one is an electric water heater, so you have the electric line coming in and then the water line coming in and then going back out with hot water. So
the other big thing to make sure you check for is that your valve is functioning properly. That way, if you do have a leak in the water heater, you can simply turn that valve off and you still have water at the inside of the house. You just don't have hot water until that's square.
Absolutely. All right, Brandon, we're in one of the bedrooms now. What do you like to look for in the bedrooms?
So first thing I'm noticing in this bedroom is the smoke detector. So it's important that you have a smoke detector in every bedroom in the home here in Arizona. You also want to check the date. So there's a spot here where whoever is installing these should put the installation date. I see that those are not filled in most of the time, unfortunately. Quick test you can do, just twist it down and the manufactured date on the smoke detector is listed here. So this one is from 2016. These are rated for 10 years here in Arizona, so it's okay for now. 2026, you're gonna wanna go ahead and replace that. The other thing is you wanna make sure every single door has a door stop behind it so you prevent any drywall damage from the door slamming. This one has a door stop, but it is in rough shape, so I would definitely recommend we replace that. Another thing I'm noticing here is the ceiling fan is quite outdated. Common theme we've seen in this house, gold fixtures, so you could certainly rent it out as is, but I would recommend an update here. And then finally the bulb on this, so very minor items. Just want to make sure all your bulbs are functioning, and this one's got one burnt out, so replace that. Finally, blinds. We want to go through and make sure all the blinds are functioning properly. So do they twist open? Do they pull open? So this functions properly, but this is a plastic mini blind. I absolutely do not recommend these. They are disposable. Go with a 2-inch wood full blind. It looks better. It's durable. It's gonna bring value to the property. All right, Travis, last but not least, we've made it to the backyard. What are we looking for out here?
I like to start with the exterior of the building again. So here again, the paint on the walls looks great. These sunscreens, they've seen better days, especially this is south facing, so they're getting hit with quite a bit of sun. So at some point, these are gonna need to be replaced. You look up at the ceiling though, and you've got some joints that are cracking, so you probably wanna hit this with a fresh coat of mud and paint on top. And then the backyard. This is actually a great backyard. People love grass. From a landlord's perspective, though, if you wanted to convert this to xeriscaping, that would probably be the better long-term plan here. Just less maintenance. Not all tenants are going to keep up with the grass, so that's what I would recommend here.
Yeah, those are all great call outs. One other thing I noticed while walking out here is it looks like the fascia is starting to lose some paint. What do you think about that?
I do, yeah. It's due for fresh paint for sure. Again, it's facing south, so it's getting the brunt of the sun out here. So yeah, you want the wood to last longer, get some fresh paint on there. All right, Brandon, we've toured the home. We've got a good idea of what needs to be done, potential upgrades that we could make to the property. What are next steps?
Next steps, we'll head back to the office, we'll pull up the photos, and we're gonna itemize the scope for the turn, right? So for us, we like to delineate the scope between various vendors to save our owners as much money as possible. So we'll act as the general contractors, delineate some work to our handyman and whatnot. The important factor here when gathering these bids is to make sure we present it in a clean format to the owner. So we want to show them everything they need to do to ensure the property is clean, safe, and functional. And then we'll present some additional upgrade options to them. So we talked about the kitchen, the counters, the cabinets, that type of stuff. We'll give them the option to do those upgrades, let them know what the increased value would be to do that, and then let them make the decision. Once we have an approved turn scope, we would complete the disposition process. So let's find out which of those charges we can hold from the resident security deposit and which are going to be on the owner as normal wear and tear type items. And then from there, it's just supervising our vendors, making sure the turn is completed in a timely fashion, keeping the owner updated. That's a big part of what we do. So make sure they're hearing from us at least once a week with what's going on with the turn and getting ready to lease the home for the next residents.
Yeah, perfect. Let's get back to the office.
Let's do it.